Welcome. My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today. And it's our final day for the stamp set of the week, Party Piggy. And what a good one we've got today. Look at this adorable little pig. It is a funky fold, only because it's got a bit of missing. So it looks just like that. It's got this adorable little pig. We've got a hat and a flag, but we're going to do one better. So I'm going to move this aside. And I'm going to bring this one in. And we've made it of shaker card. Well, we got to on a Friday, haven't you? So this is our little piggy. You can buy the shaker compartments with the stamp set. And that is why you have the circle in the piggy, is to cut out the tummy so you can put this in. So let's put this aside and make our own. So the first thing we're going to need is, oh, excuse me. I have got, she says, trying to pick them up. Bear with me. Right, okay. So I have a piece of Poppy Parade. Now this is 7.5 by 5 3/4. And we're going to score at the 3.5 mark, which I have already done. I'm going to fold that over. And then burnish. Don't worry about measurements, they will be on my blog later. I then have a piece of white cardstock, which is 3 3/4 by 5.5. That will be our inside layer. And then I have a piece of white to go on the outside, and that measures 3 1/4 by 5.5. And I have 2 pieces of scrap. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on the inside. And it's very quick and very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to take the confetti from the stamp set. I'm using Poppy Parade. We're going to decorate the right hand side. Not very much. We need it just to poke through. I'm just going to test it down here. Yeah. It's just going to show through on the side. So let's turn that around. Here we go. So that's 1. Now you can just go all the way across. I actually like to rotate it so that the pattern isn't too repetitive. There we go. And I think it fits quite well by doing that. Okay, so that is that bit. So quite quick and easy. I'm going to lean across here and grab my glue. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to simply stick that inside to our card. Pop our glue on, and then we'll pop that inside the card base like so. It will have a gap all the way around. There we go. But it will still peek through for when your card is closed. Okay, so let's pop that aside and we will bring in our second piece of white cardstock. So now we're going to stamp our pig. So again, I'm using Pebble Path. You could use whatever you prefer. You could use Early Espresso. If you wanted a brown pig, you could stamp it in black or even another grey. So the first thing to do is to stamp Piggy's bottom as low down as you dare so that you can get everything in. So there he is. There's his bottom. And we can bring in his head. He will just line up, his head should line up with his shoulders. Yay! Oh, look, I've got a dirty mark on there. I won't worry too much. Then we are going to put his hat on. And the reason I do it this way is so that I know that when I put the sentiment on, I've got room. Where I can't find what I've done with it. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to put happy birthday to you. There we go. And that is going to go up to the top right hand corner. There we are. So there's Piggy. Now that I can cover with a little bit of bling, so I'm not going to stress too much. So once we've done all the stamping, she says, forgetting to stamp herself a hat and a flag. So let's do that quickly. Once we've done that, we can start the colouring in for our Piggy. Oh dear, one of those days today. Good job it's the weekend tomorrow. Okay, so pop those away. We can start colouring in. So I'm going to just use these 3 colours. So I have got Pebble Path, I've got Dark Flirty Flamingo, and I have Dark Petal Pink. I'm not going to colour in my Piggy Total. I'm just going to colour in sections of it that are showing through. So, for example, we've got Petal Pig on his nose, and I'm going to add that to the hat. Then I've got Flirty Flamingo, so I'm going to do a bit of that down here, and maybe in here. And we could colour in the hat and then also the flag. So all of the 3 will coordinate. Oh, I do apologise. If you can hear that little piece of tinkling music in the distance, it's my washing machine. Right, and then I'm putting Pebble Path on its on his hooves. Trotters, not hooves, trotters. Pigs have trotters. There we go. So once you have happily coloured in everything, you can then cut it out. So I've got a die for the flag. I have a die for the hat. And then you get this lovely little circle, which you just need to pop in his tummy here, like so. There we go. Run all 3 through the cut and emboss machine, and in true Little Greenhouse style, here's one I've done earlier. He comes back looking like this. So I've got this little circle that comes out of his tummy. I've got the shaker section, and I've got my flag, she says, dropping it. So the thing you need to do now is you need your other piece of spare. I'm going to cut out a 2-inch circle with my punch. You can use anything circular wise, or a square if you prefer, that will cover the back of the hole. So what we're looking for is it to go onto the back of the hole, like so, whichever you feel is comfortable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to decide that is my front of my, that's the piece I want to show through. So I'm going to turn it over like so. I am going to get my pencil. I'm going to put a mark at the top of my circle and a little mark around the edge of my circle here. Okay, so that will show you. Then I'm going to turn this over, making sure that I've got my mark straight at the top, which is there. And then I'm going to stamp "Let's Party," she says. There it is. And I'm going to stamp that in the Poppy Parade. And that's going to sit straight in the middle, or as straight as possible. There we go. Right. Now I think we are all stamped out now and coloured in, so we can begin assembling the card. So as you can see, it is actually quite quick. So this comes with a glue section at the top. So what you want to do is to, I'm going to put my glasses on for this bit, bear with me. There we go. You're going to peel the top. There we go, like so. And that just slides off and bit that bit. Now my suggestion is you put it down, and then you put your little piggy over the top, and then you push down to make sure that it is all secure. Okay, and then just turn it over and do the same again on there. Right, so what we can do now is we can add, again, you can get these with the dies and the stamp set on the online. So these are loose shaker elements. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few of these into the middle. I don't know, 2, whoops, 3. I want it to be full-ish, but I want it to be enough that that it shows the words as well. So there you go. I'll just give a few, touch more, she said, sprinkling them on the card. And everywhere but the hole. Now let's do these tiny, tiny bits. There we go. Now I'm going to put the lid on that because otherwise I will send it flying. I know I will. So the thing to do now is you're going to put my glasses back on to start with. We're going to take the backing off of here. Come, she says. Come on, I've got my glasses on. I should be able to see. There we go. Right, so now what we're aiming to do is get this little line straight up with our get off line that's at the top. Okay, might need to bring that just down a touch. What I'm trying to do is make sure, as I said, that I'm going to get the Let's Party over straight. There we go. Let's make sure it's straight. Yeah, look, I've got a Let's Party. We can live with that. Yeah, so we're going to stick that down. It's a slight wonk, but we got there. It's on. There we go. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm just going to force that down to make sure it's all stuck round. And now the thing to do is to mount it on our card base. So literally we're going to, I'm just going to give that another burnish just to, there we go, make sure it's down firmly. I'm going to glue all the back of this and then it will sit on here like so. So let's do that. Lots of glue, especially on the 2-inch circle because I want to make sure that sticks down and none of the shaker elements will come through when they're not meant to. There we go. Let's wriggle that around. Now obviously if you don't have the shaker element and you want to still make this kind of design of card, we've still got this one. So it's exactly the same, just haven't cut out the tummy. Okay, so he's down. So we now need to add his hat and his flag, and I'm going to attach both of those with dimensionals. So let's bring those in. Actually quite a quick card for a Friday. As it's going to hang over the edge, I'm going to make sure that my dimensionals are as far over to the flagpole as I can possibly get them, so that they don't, I don't want them to stick down to there. Right, so that's going to go there. Do I need another? I'll just put a tiny bit down there. Let's see if I can find a small piece. Right, let's get my scissors. Oh, I was going to say, why can't you find anything? They're always in front of you, aren't they? Do you ever find that? Sitting there crafting and thinking, where is it? And it's right in front of you. Right, so I'm going to pick that tiny piece up and I'm just going to add it to the base of the flagpole. There. I hope it's not too much shadow in here today. I haven't got my lights on, but it just seems very, I've got a bit of shadow, so I apologise. Okay, so that can go turned over. That will go in his hands like so. There we go, look at that. That will then go onto here, one onto there, and I can get one at the top to go up to there. And that really is it. It's, as I say, it's a very quick card for a funky fold, but I think it was worth it. I'm loving the shaker element. I think any recipient will love that. So let's put you over there and the lid on the glue so I don't spill it. So there is our Funky Fold Friday card. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. I hope you liked these ones. If you do have a go, please post a photograph. I would love to see them, or any comments will be mostly grateful. So thank you ever so much. We're back on Monday with our next stamp set of the week. So do join me then if you can. And whatever you do for the rest of the weekend, have a lovely time and happy crafting. Bye.